Okay, great. Well, thanks, everybody. One thing that Joaquim forgot to mention is that we'll make we're making a recording of this, but all the slides will be made available after the tutorial as well. So I'm going to go through the next two sections about prototyping and also about evaluation, but I'll probably skip through some slides to make up a bit of lost time. So don't worry, you'll be able to watch the video and have access to slides after as well. So we can talk about prototyping now, which is the third part of the interaction design cycle, very important. And prototyping is about how we can take the ideas that you've just designed and make them real. So the big question is, how can we prototype XR experiences with little or no coding? And the process of prototyping is really about going from an idea to some sort of tangible output. It could be a video, a sketch, a working application, a 3D model, or something else that provides some idea of the interactive experience. There are many prototyping techniques you can use, and you can kind of organize them on a taxonomy of low fidelity to high fidelity and easy to use and hard to use. And so, in general, we can break them into two types, into low fidelity prototyping tools and low fidelity tools that are really about describing the concept or the visual design of the XR experience, and high fidelity tools, which are really about describing the interaction or the experience design. And I'll go through a mixture of these now. And of course, there are many, many tools, and we can't go through all of them. So you could just get a flavor for what it's like. There's some advantage and disadvantage of both. Low fidelity tools have very low development costs, and they can be very fast to use, which means you can use them to evaluate multiple design ideas. But sometimes they don't provide, or they don't provide much support for interaction, and so you can't really use them to show the navigation or the flow through a application. High fidelity tools are normally allow you to build an interactive experience, and they have the look and feel of the final product, but they can be much more expensive to develop and time consuming to build. And sometimes developers get locked into a design and are very reluctant about changing their minds, and so they become, sometimes it can lock you into bad design choices. So let's talk about low fidelity tools. And these involve tools such as sketching, storyboarding, building mock-ups, and paper and video prototyping. So you can typically go through this process from sketch to prototype, where you start some sketching, move through wireframes and mock-ups, and then build an interactive prototype. So the most important prototyping tool you can use out of all of them is really just a pencil and a piece of paper. And that's really important because sketching isn't about drawing, but it's about taking an idea in your mind and making it physical. So Bill Buxton, a very famous interaction designer, said that sketching is about the activity, not the result. So you've got some sort of new knowledge or new idea in your mind, and you want to be able to create a physical representation of that so other people can understand it. So sketching is really about idea generation or about getting communicating ideas so you can start elaborating on them as well. And sketching is very useful because you can use it in the early ideation phase. It forces you to think about ideas. It forces you to visualize how things come together. It can be useful as a communication tool, and it's really useful for active brainstorming. Once you've got a sketch, you can show somebody, and they give their feedback, and you get some more ideas based on that. And it's the very beginning of the prototyping process. So here's some examples of different interface sketches for VR. You can see very, very rough, but that's okay because you just have to communicate the idea. You can do some smart things. You can take photographs of the real world, and you can sketch on top of the photographs to show what it's like for AR. And you can also turn your sketches into immersive experiences. So if you can download a 360 panorama grid, and then you can draw the ideas on the grid, and then you can bring that into a 360 photo viewer on your VR headset and be immersed in your sketch. So here's an example. This is the template grid you download, and the center area, the white area, is the piece that is going to be front on when you're wearing the VR headset, and the darker gray areas are in the periphery. So you sketch onto that. Here's a sketch of a virtual lecture theatre. You can see, because you're using this template grid with the warping applied to it, that means it makes it very, very easy to draw in the correct manner. And then you can view that in VR. So this is what it looks like in VR. You can see, you can look around, and now that 360 image of the lecture theatre becomes an immersive 360 image that you can view in VR. And you can also use web viewers as well. So you can take that sketch and you can drop it into this URL and you can view it on the web. So 360 sketching is a very, very fast and easy way to generate an immersive 3D environment. You can also use AI to help you with that. And there's a very nice tool from Blockade Labs that allows you to generate a 360 skybox image. So you can type in a text prompt and it generates images like this that you can then throw into a VR headset and be immersed inside that space. But you can also sketch in VR as well. So tools like OpenBrush or Gravity Sketch allows you to draw in VR and to sketch out user interfaces on the one-to-one scale. So this video at the bottom here shows OpenBrush working. It's a super easy tool to use, and so you can just sketch in the headset, and like it shows on the top there, you can sketch a very quick menu or 3D user interface. And the big benefit about that is you can draw those interfaces at one-to-one scale. So here's a concept video of a VR interface for SketchUp. Some of you may know SketchUp, the desktop tool for building 3D content. So this is an idea of what it might look like to make a VR version of SketchUp. So you can see the tool, the model that you're building is in the middle there. And in this particular case, they had the idea that they'd put user interface elements on your arm. So you can see your arm there with the different elements on it. And then you can pretend to select those and select the tools. So none of this is really interactive, but it gives you an idea what it would be like to be in a VR version of SketchUp. And here's an example of designing AR and VR. So they've taken a 360 photograph, and on top of the photograph, they've put some animations and videos. And then when you view that photograph inside the headset, it gives you a view of what it might be like. In this case, to have a AR navigation interface in your car. So they've taken a 360 picture of inside a car, and then annotated that with augmented reality content. So once you've done your sketching, the next step is to draw storyboards. And storyboards are, a popular technique from filmmaking. And the idea of the storyboard is to give you an idea of the flow of the experience. And so here's one example of a storyboard. This is a VR game storyboard. This is a storyboard for an augmented reality game. So in this game, you drop a virtual seed, it grows into a tree. The tree gets struck by lightning. This magical creature flies out in augmented reality, and then you have to use your iPad to track the creature around and try and tap on and catch it. So the key elements of a storyboard is to make sure you've got a strong scenario, to have visuals that show the key elements in the interaction sequence, and then to add captions to those visuals that describe what's actually happening. So you can use templates like this to build storyboards. You can even use VR templates. In this case, this shows the front view at the bottom, and then the top set of panels show a top-down view of what it'd be like. So if you're building, this allows you to show what the person can see and also what's around them. So here's an example of a VR storyboard. So once you've got the sketches and storyboards done, then you really want to talk about how people navigate through the application and interact with it. And that's where wireframes come in. So this is the wireframe that I did for the City View AR application I talked about at the beginning. And the main idea for wireframes is to define the interface elements and show how they're all connected together and the flow through the experience. But it's not about showing the design. So the wireframes can be very, very crude, as you see here. And it's not about making it look nice and pretty. So here's an example. On the left, there's an app for an AR fitting room where you can look at yourself and see virtual clothes on yourself. On the right is the wireframe for that. So it shows you what happens when you click on different buttons and what will be the next screen. Here's a more complicated wireframe that shows, in this case, it's a VR, it's an AR app that lets you drop, you can see on the right-hand side, drop a virtual castles in the real world. And here's a VR app for hazards, and they show at the beginning starting the app, and then the fifth panel along shows you going to VR mode, and then the sixth to ninth panel at the bottom is the person in VR mode. So to build these wireframes, you really need to be able to understand real user needs and goals. You need to represent the interaction points and change in user state. So when you click on a button, it goes to a different screen, or you do something in the VR, it goes to a different state. And you want to show all the user interface elements and create the flow between those elements, and then get feedback from users. So once you've got the wireframe, you can walk people through and give feedback. From there, you can go to mock-ups, and mock-ups are really about the look and feel. So you take the wireframe you've got and you build on top of it to create a high fidelity visuals and start using some of the final assets that you'll use in the application. So this is where you get feedback on the design. The wireframe is about getting feedback on the flow. This is about feedback on the design. So this is a very rough wireframe from an AR tree planting app. You can see very rough sketches. And then this is the same, but with the mock-up. So in this case, you can see here, they've got some interface elements that look like they'll be in the final user interface. This is an app that lets you plant virtual trees in the real world. Here's another example of building an AR mockup. What they've done in this case is they've taken some 3D graphics. They've got a photograph of the person using the HoloLens. Then they subtract the background from the photograph, from the 3D graphics, basically green screen it, and then combine the two together. And so you can see on the far right a mock-up of what it might be like to use this HoloLens app in the real world. Of course, for building mock-ups, you have to create some of the assets. And so there are a lot of tools you can use for building 2D and 3D assets, tools like Sketch on the Mac or Figma on the desktop. And Figma is also a good tool for prototyping as well. You can see on the right-hand side here an example of a mobile AR app that's prototyped in Figma. And you can use this tool called Vectory that allows you, it's a 3D plugin for Figma, that you can load models into Figma, and then it simulates the real camera view, and you can then get an idea of what the AR application will be like. Of course, there are a lot of tools for 3D asset creation as well. You can go to online to sites like Sketchfab, where you can download complete 3D models. You can also build 3D assets using a variety of tools. And one of my favorite tools is SketchUp. And so, sorry, Gravity Sketch. So let me just show you this one here.
We set out to do something really big, change the way that everything is created in the world.
VR was really what we were waiting for. Gravity Sketch is a 3D design platform, and it should feel like a pen and paper. It should feel like something that you're used to doing every single day. You essentially have an infinite canvas, and you could start from napkin sketching, and you can refine it all the way down to a direct representation of what you're thinking, and the person viewing it can see it from any angle.
Being able to design with human proportions from day one, they're able to cut their design time substantially.
We're seeing design teams engaging with their clients directly in VR and let them experience the design really early before they invested loads of resources. There is no real equivalent to this. There's a certain enjoyment that you have.
So I'll fast forward from that, but you get the idea. So Gravity Sketch is a super useful tool that lets you sketch inside VR and then create a very nice photorealistic renderings. And once you've got those 3D models and sketches, then you can use a variety of tools to lay them out and arrange the scene. Sketchbox is one. You can also do the same thing in AR. So there are tools like AR Looper or Blipper that allows you to create very simple AR scenes. And one of my favorites is a tool called Vuforia Studio that uses the Vuforia tracking library from PTC. And this allows you to load in 3D content. You can animate them, you can drag and drop models, and then you can also use Vuforia tracking. So you can align these to real objects or to real images. So this video here shows this working. So you can see the person here selecting a model file, loading it in. In this case, it's a part of a production line. And then they can track off parts of the real model, and they can add the AR overlays onto that. So they're adding a bunch of stuff around IoT here and sensors, and they build the scene up, and then they can use it in the real world. And you can see here they have got the real robot production line. They overlay this CAD model onto the real model, and now they can see AR content appearing on the real model. And so this is a really super useful tool that just is a way to assemble AR scenes together. So with mockups, generally you want to be able to create the final 2D and 3D interface elements, and then replace those wireframe elements you had before with high quality visuals using standard UI elements, and then you can simulate AR and VR views. You want to focus on the visual and audio design, and then also get feedback from users. So comparing those three, you can see sketching is really about the ideation, and it's really low fidelity. Wireframes are about the flow through the user experience, and it's kind of low to medium fidelity. And then mock-ups are really about visualizing the final experience, and it's about creating a high fidelity experience. But one thing you'll notice so far with what I've shown you is none of these are really interactive. And Bill Buxton, that famous designer, said that unless you can show me where you've fleshed out the character and aspects of the transitions at the same level and fidelity as you have the states, you're fired. And what he's talking about is that when you are building mock-ups and wireframes, you're thinking about the states that you're showing what's on the screen, but you've also got to think about how you move between them. And it's the transition between these states that really define the user experience. So it's really, really important to be able to show that. And one way to show that is to build video sketches. So here you can capture elements of the real world or use still photographs, but put them all into a video and just show what's happening. So people oftentimes make concept videos. This is a series of stills from the concept video from the original Google Glass. And when they make concepts videos, it's all fake, but you can use video editing to make it seem real. So here's the Glass concept movie. And in the first version of Glass, they had this bubble interface. So you can see the idea was you'd be doing your everyday tasks. You could look up in the sky and you can see bubbles, and then you could activate things by looking at them. So in this case, he looks at the temperature bubble. It tells him what the rain temperature is. He gets a message from his friend, and he is able to talk to him, send the message back, and then he's using Glass to support the navigation. And now he's navigating around and sees that the subway's suspended, and now he turns on the map and goes from there. So I'll stop that, but that gives you an idea.
So I've just walked into the room and I can.
Sorry, so that gives you an idea about how you can basically make a fake interface and show the user experience. And you see that all the time in XR and VR and AR applications. Here's another way to do that. This is a paper prototype mock-up. And so in this case, they've got two people working together. The lady is holding a green frame. The green frame is supposed to represent an iPad. And the idea is this app allows you to select screens in a room that you want to show content on. So you hold the iPad up, you look at the screen, and it tells you which TV you're looking at and gives you instructions to how to share with that screen. So her friend has some orange pieces of paper on plastic rulers, and her friend's playing the role of the computer, and all the orange pieces are supposed to be AR overlays. So I'll play the video, and while she's playing, you'll hear her voiceover describing what she's supposed to be doing.
So I've just walked into the room and I can see the sketch wall and 5 whiteboards are available. Now I can see TV7 and TV6, and I want to connect to TV7. And I will tap it. And it's telling me how to connect, and it's showing me a button, so I will tap on connect. Wait, like that. And now it's telling me to download the via app, and I will tap on download, and it's downloaded, and now I can run it by tapping.
Okay, I'll stop there, but you get the idea. But so this is kind of a bit simple, but even just with paper and rulers and simple mock-ups, they're able to make a pretty effective flow that shows you the interaction flow. So the low fidelity prototype, you collect all the tools you want, you think about the user, you sketch and storyboard the experience, and then you walk through these steps, and in the end you'll make some video or some interactive experience showing how it works out. This is a case study of how you might apply that. This is an example from the Bunratty Park. So Bunratty is a folk park in Ireland, and they have all these old buildings, and they want to use AR to guide people around the buildings. And so the person who did that her goal was to build this navigation aid. And the first thing she did was some needs analysis. So she talked to a bunch of people. She found out that they use their mobile phones, and they really want to move around the park together in groups and have a social experience, and don't want to read maps and look at paper. So they had the idea to create an AR interface. This is the storyboard. It's a bit hard to see, but in the storyboard it shows going around, and on the bottom panels she pulls out her phone, looks at a real castle, and a pop-up appears, and she can then display AR content on the castle. So then what she did is built a Photoshop version of that. Photoshop is very easy to use, but there's not very interactive, but she could at least build the screens and what they look like. So this is kind of the mock-up phase, and then she did some paper prototyping. So here's 3 different versions of the first start screen. And then from that, she made PowerPoint. And PowerPoint's really great because you can actually create links between the slides, and people can click on the slides and jump between them. So now she could do some user testing. And from this, the downside of PowerPoint, of course, is it doesn't provide an AR experience. So then she wanted to build an AR experience. And so from this, she went and used Wikitude, which is an AR browser. And then she could actually make an AR experience and give the people the experience of popping up. But the downside of this is you have to do that inside the Wikitude user interface, so it didn't look quite what she wanted. And then finally from that, she built a video from lessons that she'd learned and combined all those together into a video that showed the final interaction. So this is what the video looks like. And I won't show the whole video, it's quite long, but it gives you an idea of how it might look like to interact. So you can see here she's doing a mock-up of um, interacting with the phone, and you can see she's showing the different features there. And she's now showing how when you get near to a house, the person will on their phone will pop up a tag showing something there, and you can tap on the tag and see more information. And then you can also go into houses and see content and things like that. So I won't show the whole video, it's quite long, but you get the idea. So now we'll talk about high fidelity tools. And so these are tools that really help you build more interactive experiences. So these include things like interactive sketching, on-device authoring, immersive authoring, and using XR development toolkits. So this is really on the right-hand side of the quadrant here. And so, of course, first of all, you want to get some content. So one way to do that is to create some 360 images. And then with 360 images, either from photographs or from images you've drawn yourself or from AI images, it's very, very easy to upload those into a 360 tour creator and add interactivity and then view it on a desktop or on a head-mount display. So here's a number of applications that allow you to do that. Cooler, 3D Vista, Lepentor. So with each of these applications, they're all web-based. You just upload the 360 content and you can add hotspots between them. So Lepentor, for example, it's a free application. It has support for desktop, mobile, or head-mount displays, a drag and drop interface where you can just drag in 360 content, and then you can add hotspots and add and transitions between the hotspots. So this is a video of that working. This shows you how to do that in less than 1 minute. So you upload your 360 images. In this case, they're taken to a living room and a bedroom, and then you upload them to the Lepentor web interface. And then looking at each of these rooms, you can add a hotspot. So here they got a hotspot. When you click on this hotspot, you're going to go from the living room into the bedroom. And then you can view that on the browser. And so here's the browser view, and now click on this one, and then click there and jumps into the other room. So super easy, and this is a really easy way that you can build mock-ups of VR experiences to make a lot of 360 content, add lots of hotspots, and away you go. Of course, there's lots of tools for prototyping mobile AR, and mobile AR is one of the most popular AR experiences because everybody has mobile phones they can use. So you can use existing prototyping tools like Pop and Figma, or you can use AR-specific tools like SnapLens Studio. So I talked about Pop already, but this is a really fantastic tool. It allows you to take photographs or sketches and add interactivity to them, and then view them on the web or on your phone. So here's a video of it working. So you basically take a photograph of a sketch, or you can upload a JPEG or GIF image or something. And then once you have the picture, you can then highlight the areas you want to add interactivity to, so that box there. And then you can then see what happens when you click on the box. So they're adding some text in right now. They're going to go to the first, changing the order of screens. They're going and adding an interactive box here. This is so when you tap on this screen, it's going to transition to the second screen. And you can say how it transitions, in this case, sliding left, or it could be a fade transition or whatever you want. And now they're going to add a box onto the shopping cart button, and that will take you to the shopping image. And then once you've got it going, you can play it, and you can just tap and you can transition between the screens like that. So super easy. And of course, there's also Figma. Those who've done any web or mobile applications, you probably used this before. So Figma is a web-based tool for interface design. And because it's so fully fleshed out for interface design for mobile, you can easily use it for mobile AR as well. So here's an example of what the Figma interface looks like. You can basically drag and drop all the components. And here's an example of a AR interface experience built with Figma. So this shows you, this application here is for putting artwork on the walls. And so the idea is you go home, you pick the artwork you want, and then you can put it on your own wall, and if you like it, you can buy it. So in this case, you scroll through the artwork, and then you pick the one you want. You hit the See It in AR button, and then you scan your room and turn on the tracking, and then it overlays uh, um, the art on the wall, so you can see scanning around, and then you can now overlay the picture on the wall. And if it looks good, then you can order the artwork. Now this is all a mock-up. None of this works for real, but this is all done in Figma. So you can see it makes a pretty nice high fidelity tool. And the most important thing is it's got that rich interactivity. So now you can actually get people to test it themselves. But there are a lot of visual programming tools you can use as well. Like my favorite is Snap Lens. So here's some ideas from Snap Lens Studio. Many of you will probably have Snapchat on your phones, and you can use Snap Lens Studio to easily build your own Snap lenses. So you can see pictures of myself there with no hair or with pink hair. And here's what the interface looks like. You can use visual programming to create your own lenses. Some of you who've done it programming before, you'll notice it looks a little bit like Unity. So this is actually a great stepping stone to learning Unity. But if you don't know how to program, you don't need to. You can just drag and drop interface elements here as well. So here's some example applications. Here's kind of an angel woman. This is a guy playing game outside. And this is a guy who's built an
So
application.
here's a quick demo that we built using some
with
of the
foot tracking, so you can put virtual shoes on your foot. So Snap Lens Studio is amazing. It provides a wide variety of visual tracking, like you can see foot tracking or outdoor tracking. It also provides support for AI, for gesture interaction, speech interaction, and a variety of other things. So it's a really great tool for mocking up mobile AR applications. And there are other tools as well, though. This is one of my favorites. It's called Delightix. This is a cross-platform tool. And so it's a web-based tool that allows you to build VR or AR applications using on the web. But because it's developed for WebXR, it means you can deploy it on tablets or phones or head-mount displays as well. And they also have really nice tools for AI content creation. And so here's a video of that working.
Wait a moment. What is going on here? Don't worry, CoSpace's EDU is not gone. It just got a different name now. CoSpaces is now called Delightix, or DX as the cool kids call it. But we did not just change our name. We got so much more for you. A huge and ever-growing library of 3D assets, highly customizable and full of life. An immersive, dynamic 3D space to navigate across multiple devices. VR and AR functionalities to build up your dream world and dive right into exploring it. Step into your own universe and explore it like never before. Or, if you'd rather, bring your creations right into your room. Hold and interact with them in real life. Easily master block-based coding to take interactivity to the next level.
So I'll stop there, but actually this is a really important part. So they have some support for rich interactivity, and they do it using visual coding, like you can see here, and which is basically a version of the Scratch programming library. And it's super easy to use, and because it's visual programming, you can't make any mistakes. So I highly recommend using a tool like this, and it's a very fast way to prototype more interactive experiences. And there are other web-based tools. Niantic Studio is particularly popular. This also supports WebXR development, but Niantic have amazing tracking capabilities. So they can take this outside and use VPS for outdoor tracking. They have face tracking and image target tracking, and they can also deploy to multiple devices that have WebXR support. So this is an example. This shows you the Niantic interface. This is showing you their visual editor working. So it looks very similar to Snap Lens Studio. It's a drag and drop interface, and lets you drag 3D content around and add behaviors as well in a very easy way. And then because it's a web-based gaming engine, then you can view it on anything that supports a web browser. And they have physics engines and rich component libraries and the like. And they also have XR features like face tracking and world tracking and deployment on phones or head-mount displays, things like that. So there's a face tracking like Snap. This is what would be an outdoor experience. And then you can go outdoor and play games in the real world. So that's authoring on the desktop. Of course, you can also author on the device as well. And the benefit of that is you get to try it on the device while you're in VR or AR as well. For example, Apple have their Apple Reality Composer, which is a free app for Apple iPads and phones. And this allows you to drag and drop 3D content and then add simple behaviors based on triggers. So, for example, if you tap an object, it does something. And then you can anchor the content in the real world. So this is a video of this working. Oh, actually, the video is not playing. I'll skip that. I made a mistake and didn't.
We can make you believe.
I didn't embed the video, so I'll go on. But basically, in this video, it shows you loading the Apple logo in the real world and tapping on it and playing the logo. Sorry about that. Another popular application for XR prototyping is Figment XR. This is an application that runs inside the browser on the Quest head-mount display. And so this lets you create a mixed reality view, and then you can author the experience in mixed reality. So this is the person using here. So you can see they've got a very rich experience there. You can draw on real objects. You can type text. You can use tilt brush or open brush to draw in the real world. You can have gesture interactions, so pick up objects, interact with things like that. And there's some simple physics. And you can also add a variety of behaviors. So this lady's built a mini golf game as well. And they have a library of 3D content as well. This shows the drawing tool, and so it's a very nice way to author XR applications in the real world. And then probably my favorite is Shapes XR because it supports very, very rich interaction and also collaboration. So Shapes XR allows you to mock up AR, VR interfaces, but once you've built the interface, then several of you can look at the experience and experience it together. So you see in the middle frame there are three heads, a pink one, a yellow one, and a blue one. And these are all three different people looking at that same XR experience together. So if you've got a headset, you can jump in together and view it. And it also allows you to import 2D and 3D assets. So here, let me show you a little video of Shapes XR explaining how it works. So here's the designer. He wants to design a new type of game, and he's trying to tell people about this game. It's a drumming game, but they don't understand it because they're trying to understand it from a 2D perspective. And he's dropped some sketches, and he's got a flow chart, and it's not really gelling together. So they don't really get it. So what he wants to do now is to build the game in Shapes XR and show people. So he puts his head-mount display on, he goes into Shapes XR and starts drawing out the shapes and adding the behaviors. And it's really like a way of doing storyboarding inside VR. So you can add a set of scenes and then jump between the scenes to show the user experience. And then once you've got it working, everybody can jump into it themselves and they can all see the experience and talk about it together. So you can see three people in VR together, and now they're playing and practicing, pretending to play the drums, get an idea what it's like. He's building up a little user interface that let people swap between songs and everything. And then he has several storyboard frames to show people how the interaction flow will go. And then once he's built it, then what he can do is share this with the designer, and the designer can take it into Unity and actually build it for real. So that's a really great thing, is that Shapes XR allows you to import a wide range of content, 3D models, 2D images, even Figma files, and then create your Shapes XR user experience, and then you can export out to Unity or to a video or just 2D images. So here's another example of a prototype space interface. And in this case, what they did is they built the interface using Figma, and then they added Shapes XR, and they brought that into Shapes XR. Then they added some primitives. You can see here they're using balls for interface elements. They can drag chairs out of their asset library. This is supposed to be a mixed reality mock-up of a furniture shopping app. So you load up online, you see the 2D interface, and then you can drag and drop the chairs and other content from the interface there and into the real world. So this is the Figma tool, loading the Figma file now into Shapes.XR, and now it appears inside VR. And actually, if you have interactive in Figma, it'll also support it in Shapes.XR as well. So if you push the buttons and things happen, it works as well. And so now it's allowing you to put it into mixed reality, adding interaction. So your little trigger. So when you hover over the bubble there, things happen. And so you can see that they click that one and the chair jumps out and into the real world. So you can add simple interactions as well. The final thing I want to talk about is piggyback prototyping. So sometimes you have an idea for a very complicated application, like you want to build a multi-user application, and it's very complicated to imagine how that could be built. So one thing you can do to get around that is to take an existing framework and build on top of it. So for example, Roblox is super popular. Actually, I made a mistake there. It's not 380 monthly users, it's 380 million users and 80 million users every day. But Roblox has its own authoring studio called Roblox Studio. And so you can go into this and use Roblox Studio to mock up some multi-user VR experiences. And that might be a very, very fast way to mock up a multiplayer experience. This is what the Roblox Studio interface looks like, very similar to Lens Studio or to Unity or to Niantic. And then just drag and drop everything, and then you've got your own web-based multi-user experience. I won't play this video; it's a bit long, but so just to wrap up about high-fidelity prototyping, it's really good to be able to use a variety of interactive tools. You can focus on the interactivity. The best part about high-fidelity prototyping is you can deploy to the final target device, the head-mount display or the phone. You can add the final content, and then you can add the interactive experience so people really get the idea of what the user experience is like. And then again, capturing feedback from users.